Captain Catch, written by Kate Perry. Interior prison, Northern Ireland, day. Visiting hours. A small red ball rolls along the floor of the visitor's room. We follow the ball as it winds its way between a sea of legs, some crossed, some spread. Quick fingers flip contraband into a sock. Painted toenails with diamond studs, sneakers with laces undone, worn shoes, fancy shoes, swollen ankles stuffed into sandals. Suddenly, a black rubber-soled boot slams down on the ball, stopping it in its tracks. The camera pans upwards to reveal navy trousers, black belt, buckle, holster. We pull back to see Charlie McGurk, age 4, a freckled faced on his hands and knees, looking up at the prison guard. A moment. The guard lifts up his boot. Charlie grabs the ball and legs it back to safety, back to his parents. Sean, early 40s, pale, wiry. Adele, late 30s, an attractive brunette, sits bolt upright, her jaw tense. Sean clocks her name on a badge pinned to her shirt.
You got lost? Oh, you got a job? Are you scared of getting lost?
We're all lost.
That's something.
It's $7.50 an hour.
Sean turns his attention to Charlie.
You being a good boy?
I got a dog. I call him Dog 2000.
Dog 2000. Right.
Sean smiles. Charlie brightens.
Yeah, he sleeps with me and Mummy.
Nice.
Another mouth to feed.
Charlie looks around the room. No distressed, he leans into his mum for protection. Regret written all over his face.
It'll.
He puts his hand over hers. She pulls away. Sean hardens.
Don't bring him in again. It's no place for a kid.
A bell rings. Visiting hours are over. Sean leans across to Adele, hoping for anything. They look into each other's eyes, still love there, but now only hurt. Charlie tugs at his mother's sleeve. He wants to go. Adele turns away from Sean, not ready to forgive. She picks up Charlie and heads towards the door. From over her shoulder, Charlie watches Sean. A prisoner with a tattooed neck catches Charlie's eye. He buries his head in his mother's shoulder. Sean watches them go. The door closes. His shoulders slump. 5 years later. Exterior, graveyard, day. A long shadow is cast over a grave. From behind we see a man in a full-length coat. It's Loaf McCann, the local armchair general, fuel smuggler, etc. A bunch of flowers awkward in his big hands. Close on, a photo of a young man astride a motorcycle on the gravestone. The lettering underneath reads, Brendan McCann, taken too soon, R.I.P. Interior, bathroom day. Sean soaks in the bath. Water drips from the tap. He stares at an action man propped up against it. Suddenly, Sean immerses himself under the water. The action man topples in. Interior, kitchen, early evening. Through the window, we see occasional glimpses of Charlie, now age 9, jumping on a trampoline in the backyard in a superhero getup. Rock the Boat, the Hughes Corporation, plays over the scene. Sean sings along, not comfortable in his own home yet, but in a good mood. Unseen, Adele enters holding 2 bags of shopping, still in her supermarket uniform. Sean spins around in a dance move. He holds out his hand, beckoning her to join him.
So, I'd like to know where you got the notion. Said I'd like to know where you got the...
Adele's phone rings. As he grabs her arm to dance, it falls from her pocket and onto the floor. Close on screen of phone, Thomas. Adele looks guilty. Sean picks up the ringing phone and offers it to her. A moment.
Go ahead.
Sean holds her gaze. The phone persists.
It's for you.
The ringing stops. The mood has changed. Adele puts the shopping on the table. The moment of truth.
Who's Thomas?
Adele juts her chin, and it's very clear.
Say something.
Adele stands firm, almost glad he's seen it.
Are you cheating on me?
Don't make me feel bad for you.
There was a heavy silence in the air. Then,
You think you can just waltz back in like nothing's happened? I was left here to rear your kids and face people. I had to hold down 2 shite jobs while you were handed 3 meals a day and watched television. Don't talk to me about being cheated.
Sean can't tell her the truth. All he can muster is,
Adele?
but Adele isn't finished.
You're not the only one who did time. 5 years. In these walls. What about my sentence? Did you ever stop to think about that?
Adele storms off. In one furious swoop, Sean swipes the groceries off the table. They hit the floor with force. A noise distracts him. He turns. Charlie is watching him through the window. Fade on. Rock the boat. Rock the boat. Rock the boat. Interior. Charlie's bedroom. Night. Charlie sits at a desk in his Spider-Man pajamas. With the front door slam, he watches Sean go. Close up on the blank page of a lined exercise book. An epiphany. Charlie picks up a pen. Pen on paper. Catch, catch. Ridder of evil. An odd mixture of upper and lower case. Charlie speaks as he starts to star in his very own superhero comic book.
Captain Catch. The beginning.
Thank you, guys. That was very short. We expected 10 pages, Kate, and you just sent us 4. But that's okay. Thoughts, Stewart, let's start with you with thoughts.
I have to say, I thought this had quite a lot of potential when I read it and heard it just now. It's kind of set up the prison visit quite well. I like the beginning with the ball and the foot coming down and things and the scrubbing around on the knees. It kind of captured the child very well. I did wonder kind of what that first scene was trying to say. It didn't really sort of, kind of didn't have a point really, other than starting the relationship between Sean and Adele, and setting up Charlie, I guess. But yeah, it was a bit. What's the right word? I can't think today. It was kind of just a bit nondescript of kind of what were you trying to say here. I kind of want to see where the story goes from what's written already. Quite a lot of description, and that could probably be trimmed down and let the actors and the director create from your suggestion rather than telling them everything. So those were my main things. But,
Thanks. Rory.
I agree with Stuart. I think there needs to be some sort of setup in that first scene to justify it being there that shows that he's there for some other reason than Adele thinks, because it's said in the stage directions that he can't tell her what was really going on. We won't necessarily see that in the actor's look. We need some kind of setup of that from earlier on, for us, the audience, to know something that she doesn't. I agree with Mrs. Stewart. I think it's potentially got legs. It was much better on a second read, which I thought was interesting. And for me, it really got going when Charlie writes Captain Catch, the beginning. That was when our story really started.
Yeah.
Stopped, unfortunately.
I think that needs to be a bit earlier, and it would be if that first scene wasn't there, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
It's about context for that first scene, really.
Yeah.
I'll just comment about the format and everything, as is my want. Oh no, my bloody thing's gone, and it's made it all weird. Punctuation is the difference between that thing about jacking off his horse, whatever that is, I can't remember. But there is one.
Knowing your shit.
That's it.
Had an apostrophe. That wasn't a comment on the word, but just a comment on the saying.
Yes, that's it. George helps Grandpa jack off his horse, and it depends where the comma is. As to what
it's rather different, yeah.
Punctuation is just as important in the script as it is in prose. Other than that, I think your sort of pullbacks, and there's a lot of debate about using suddenly in scripts. Not very good. But yeah, your pullback, just say pullback in caps. Those are camera. Those are directions and then it should be in caps. But yeah, I'm not going to say much else about that. I'll leave it to you, Catherine.
Yeah, I liked it. I think, as I agree with the other guys, it's got legs, definitely. I agree there are some typos. It needs a bit of a proofread. There's quite a few caps missing as well. A lot of the names need to be in caps, and you've missed a couple of caps or letters after full stops as well. So just a proofread, perhaps. I found it quite interesting. This is the first, it's a completely cold read for me. So sorry if I went a bit too OTT on the drama there, but I just, as I was reading it, I thought she's shouting, right? But I agree with the opening. I think it came across as gratuitous. It's if he's in prison, fine. You could just have him walking out and being released at the beginning. I will say though, I did like the visual of the ball being the running and stopping. I could see that was written really well, and the visuals were good in it. But it's only 5 pages. We don't know if it's going to connect to something later on, but it seemed a bit unneeded. It was unnecessary, I think. It's a nice scene. You could maybe put it in at the like as a flashback further on, perhaps, but I don't think it's the best opener. I don't know, there wasn't anything in it that it made us, there was no sort of dangling carrot with the donkey sort of thing. It was just a donkey, so it was kind of like, oh, okay, it looks great, but I don't know what it's for, sort of thing. So it's a bit distracting in that sense.
Also, can I just point out there,
Yeah.
you've made me remember, you've got 2 characters for this boy, for Charlie, instantly, in the, you know, and you've got a small child for the first one, and then you age him by 5 years. You can't use the same child.
Yeah, casting wise, that would be
That's more
Yeah.
expense.
Another expense and a lot more
Yeah.
time.
And
as well.
And all the audience going to follow it, that it's the same kid.
Yeah, it's yeah, I mean, there's lots of things you could just reference it with dialogue, really, or even not even have to reference it. It's got to be obvious from the dialogue. The audience will pick it up from, they'll understand what's happening and what's happened and what they're arguing about, where the cracks are and why they're there. But I thought the ending was interesting. I was very intrigued as to, is that going to be like a special effects thing? Are we going into a comic book then? That would be great to see some sort of cartoon things going on, or comic books. Are we delving into his mind? Because I was going to say it was quite nice that it was looking at all the characters' POVs. So it was like they've been enduring the prison sentence from their point of view, and that was quite nice. And then it went to the end of the page, and I was like, oh, it's all about Charlie then, but that's fine. But I really wanted to see what's going to happen with the special effects. Are we delving into his comic book world? So I'd like to see what happens next. I thought the characters were quite nice. So well done. Yeah.
Ian.
Yeah, I'd like to see where it's going to go. Is it? I think, is it Charlie's POV of Sean and Adele's story? That could be interesting. This McCann character, is it? Where does he fit in? We've only got these 5 pages to pick up on. I may be a bit thick, but reading that opening scene, wasn't clear to me immediately that Adele was visiting Sean. It wasn't written like that, and it wasn't. We assume that's the parents. He runs to his parents, but we don't know that Sean and Adele are his parents unless it's stated in the script somewhere. So I was just a little bit confused, but it came clear very quickly afterwards. But as you go through it, there may be just a bit of clarification required at the front end, I think. And yeah, so I'd like to see where it's going. Yeah.
Cool. John.
First thing, when is it set? We know where it's set, but haven't got a clue when.
Yeah.
The only reference is the record. Now, is that the first time it's out, or is it a radio station playing golden oldies? It's the only reference to a date. I thought the very first scene could be turned around by having the whole scene from the point of view of Charlie. So you get the parents actually look directly at the camera to kind of talk to Charlie. I thought that might have been a nice touch, but it was vague. I couldn't make a connection apart from the fact that there was 3 characters in it. I like the second scene because it builds and you know why. And she might possibly be with Thomas because Dad's been away. 5 years is 5 years. The fact that we've no idea why he's been away and he can't tell her the real reason is baffling. but I liked the last bit where we get like Charlie writes or Charlie talks as he's writing. I had the same vision as Catherine said, you know, like I might have this wrong, it might not have been Catherine, but the idea of the comic book thing.
Yeah.
I really like the idea of that suddenly switching to like kid style
His
drawing.
imagination, perhaps, or
Yeah.
the way he sees the world, and
But like a kid style drawing, not a modern smooth classic
Yeah.
animation, but more your Rude Ronnie style drawing, you know, stick figures. That's what I saw at the end, but I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And I was very intrigued. I really want to know what's going on now, because I just want to fill in all the what's going on questions.
It may be that first scene, there's more about that later. Of course, we don't know, do we?
Yeah.
I wonder if there's a dual story, a dual timeline thing
Yeah.
going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it's all hypothesis from our side because we only got 5 pages.
I think we've only got 4 pages. I think I had something came through my head is obviously kids can visit their parents in prison, but we don't know whether it's an open prison. We don't know what he's been in for. We don't know how serious the offence is.
We know the guard is armed.
Well, if it's an armed guard, yes, we know
armed,
that,
but-
and it's going to be H block, because that's the
Yeah.
only place where in Northern Ireland where they're armed, because it was a category A prison.
So I wasn't sure whether I believed that there was be a 4-year-old visiting, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know enough about that. I would have liked to have known what he was in for. And personally, if I was going to start it with a prison scene to anchor that he has been in prison, I might have started it at the end of his sentence.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. As
And then if
leaving
you've
the
got to
prison,
have a
he's
prison
being
scene,
released or something, yeah.
have it like, oh my God, in a week's time you'll be home and we'll have a party, or
Even just the awkward, oh hi, you're here, we're here to pick you up kind of thing. But there's obviously an awkward thing going, yeah.
The arrangements.
And
then
you're saving money because
And a lot of
Charlie is
changes
now
of film,
9,
yeah.
so you can use the same actor.
you're saving money, and
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
Don't need any extras.
exactly, and you've given a little
Just need
bit
a
more
big gate.
history about,
Yeah.
you
just have a really tight,
Yeah.
have a wide shot. You just have a really tight thing against the series in a studio. But no, it'd be a lot simpler.
And
Sorry.
I do also think that the business about Charlie, I think if it's Charlie's point of view, really, if it's, you get the impression that it's going to be Charlie's story, it needs to be from his point of view. You can't split that. You seem to have to have a child seeing those conversations rather than just a narrator view of those conversations.
They were nice visuals of the feet and the ball and everything, but I would have been inclined to have it stay from that low and have it see his eyes and looking up at people talking rather than have it like as a wide shot or a 2-shot or whatever.
I mean, if
that would get something a bit more. If it's all about Charlie, then that would definitely lead us into thinking, okay, this is his story.
And then you'd also have, Charlie, if he's in the garden or wherever he is, he'd be hearing his parents arguing somewhere else and not really catching the whole conversation, but just realizing his mother's upset, his father's upset, is something else.
I think the crux of what we're all discussing is that at the moment we still don't know whose story we're following.
It's just maybe, but
So it's
but it's definitely intriguing. It's
clarification.
definitely got legs. Yeah.
Oh,
Thank
definitely.
you so much.
Definitely.